obviously you have not seen us together on this channel in a long time. And we're going to talk about why that is today, because obviously that was the most asked question when we asked for questions for this Q&A.
Yes.
And there's just a lot to catch you up on, and we'll go through all of it. But obviously, let's start off with, we missed you guys. I don't know about Madison's perspective. We'll each share our perspective on why we stopped, if we'll make a comeback, how we felt since it's been gone. But I'll speak for me first, which is that I really miss the vlogs. I kind of have been taking a step back from my YouTube channel for a while, just for mental health reasons and like exploring career options outside of it. And the most consistent thing I think I did, at least on YouTube, was the vlog channel. And it was the most like, I don't want to say raw, but just like, we just kind of filmed whatever and put it up. And it felt like, if I wasn't uploading on my other channel every week, at least there was something like that I was interacting with you on the other end. And when it stopped, it's just like my job is a lot less fulfilling because people aren't really, I'm not interacting with people on a regular basis. I've missed you guys. That's all I wanted to say in that.
Okay, I have missed you all as well, but my answer is not anywhere as deep as Shelby's. I got burned out with, having my 9 to 5 on top of editing and filming, and I've tried to add like a lot of hobbies to my life and trying to like build community and stuff since we haven't been in Austin that long, trying to like make friends and do all that, and just walking around with a camera, worrying about filming every aspect of my life is kind of the reason I stepped back. But I do miss you all, and like, getting that positivity from seeing such positive comments. Like the community we have with you all is superb. So it's good to be back in whatever capacity we are going to be back in.
Yeah, so like she said, that's the main, those are the reasons that we stopped uploading on this channel. But it wasn't even really like an intentional like thing that we did, because the last vlog we uploaded before this was when Levi and Leah and Emmy were all here, and we vlogged that weekend just like normal, like had no anticipation that was going to be our last vlog for months.
Right.
We even filmed another vlog after that one. What happened was we got really serious about our routines and resting and being active, and like she said, like going to community events and making friends and being involved with people who don't necessarily know that we were on camera as a hobby or as a job at all. And it wasn't really like a thing where we were pulling out our camera to film that stuff. And it basically came around to edit the next vlog we filmed after the last one that we posted. Well, I should say Madison. And she just realized that doing all the other things that we were doing didn't also mesh with spending every evening editing. So not weirdly, but obviously I was doing YouTube for years and doing my editing for years as my professional job. I feel like I'm a pretty fast editor. Madison, on the other hand,
yeah, I am a very slow editor. I don't know why. Like, it's not even like I'm editing anything like really intense. It just takes me a long time. And I think another shift too is like, when we started and stopped the vlog kind of correlate, not exactly, but like with COVID, when it was COVID, there was nothing to do but avoid everyone. So the adventures you were seeing with us were like Shelby and I in our house most of the time doing things, or going on a trip where like there weren't a lot of people around. And now that we can see people and make friends, we're just not really vlogging as much.
I think it definitely coincides with COVID, but more so like us being reclusive.
Right.
Like we started the vlog because of COVID and we were bored, and Madison was like, I need a fucking hobby.
Yeah.
So she took up editing the vlog. Like that was the thing she was filling so much of her time with. And we, again, like we've already said, loved it we did it for like 3 years straight.
Yeah.
With like no growth on this channel, you guys. Very little generated income. It was solely a hobby to connect with you.
Right.
And I think we just got so busy with doing so many other things and prioritizing our health and our goals for the year, which is like building community, being more active, resting, which is not really vloggable,
yes.
I think is what we learned too. So like the second weekend after we didn't edit that vlog, a lot of the weekend was just spent like hanging around the house on the porch with Tippy reading. Like, and yes, we could vlog that, but also we know it would not be that entertaining. And I can already see people saying we don't care what you record and what you post, and I know people say that, but as a creator, it's really hard to just film yourself sitting on a porch and reading. Like, it's not really possible. And so we realized that the goals that we have for the year and vlogging really just simply, they didn't mesh anymore. And so that's why we stopped.
Yes.
That's like a really long answer to the question, but I feel like it needs to be said. And one of the questions, I think you have it, if you want to pull it up.
What have y'all been doing in the meantime, and why did you both stop posting?
Well, we went through the why, but what have we been doing in the meantime?
Oh my gosh, so many things. So one, not traveling as much. In order to build community, which is a really big thing that's high up on our list to do now that we're back in Austin, we have not been traveling as much. We have been trying to like pick up different hobbies. I went from just running to I have Spanish lessons that I'm taking, go to my community board meetings, play soccer, go rock climbing, run. I do all the things now. And I try to read here and there. Like, I have so many hobbies now. It's kind of crazy. I'm like slimming some back, I think, at this point now a little bit, but
yeah. We also both got shoulder injuries from climbing and have since decided maybe that's not going to be our hobby. But yeah, one of the other questions, we could put it on the screen, was upcoming travel plans. And again, like since we started vlogging, those were the 3 years where we were like, okay, travel. We are going to see the United States. We're going to travel as much as we can while we have the like freedom and ability to do that. And we did that. And we have 0 travel plans for the foreseen future.
Yes.
Absolutely none. And I don't know exactly how I feel about that. Like, I feel very at peace because I've learned that if I want to build community where I live, and if I want to like pursue the hobbies I want, and if I want a peaceful life that is also like grounded, then we need to travel less.
Yeah.
And that's actually like one of our goals for this year, is to say no to more, to not be going around, not even just like traveling for fun and for like travel sake, tourist stuff. It's like, we're not driving across Texas every other weekend to see our families. And for better or for worse, like that's what we've been prioritizing and genuinely been having a much more peaceful life. And I enjoy it a lot.
Feeling good about it.
We will have one trip that we go on this year, but it's not set in stone yet. It's like for my job. So if you see us go anywhere, that's what that is. But yeah, so what else have we been doing? Well, she said all of her hobbies she's been doing in the meantime.
Yes.
For me, I've gotten super into the front yard transformation, which I would love to share with you guys, but I'm also like quite nervous to share too much of like my front yard. So that's been a little bit hard to even think about vlogging, but that's where a lot of my time, energy, and money has gone since we've seen you. And yeah, I also took up Pilates. I think you guys know rock climbing I've been doing. Just like going to more meetups in general revolving around sustainability, meeting people, going to, speaking at the city council meetings and that sort of stuff. A lot of community activism, which was like my goal for the whole year. And I'm like, we're really doing it. It's crazy to see. And someone said, bro, you've been hibernating. Give us the 411. And like, obviously, no, we have not been hibernating. Like, it's quite the opposite. It feels like I have a lot more energy in my life now. So I've been doing a lot more. Like, even on weekdays, I'm going out and making plans. So it's not been that we've just been like chilling. We've definitely just not been focusing on editing the vlogs. All right, so since I've talked to you last, I have made some decisions about the garden. But this person says, what's happening with the garden? Shelby had mentioned raised beds previously because of the trees. If you watch my vlog where I talked about our garden on my main channel, if you haven't, you should go watch it because it didn't get pushed out by the algorithm. And since then, I've gotten a lot of DMs about what we're doing with the garden, and I think people haven't seen it. So if you haven't, go search my main channel for it. But there are 3 trees in the backyard. They're all nut trees for sure. I believe 2 of them are pecan trees, and I have since, I think, I'm not gonna say with certainty, but it's becoming more and more like clear to me that one of them is a black walnut. So I can see pecans on 2 of them. So I feel good about that. Like that relieved me of a lot. But one of them, there's no nuts on at all. And there's no grass growing around it. Or it's not grass, it's like ground daisies that we have out there. And the ones that are pecans, the ground daisies grow around. The black walnut, nothing. Absolutely nothing's growing around it. Have you noticed that?
I have not. I was like, that's scary.
Yeah, I just noticed that. So that's one of the things I talked about in that video. If you have a black walnut, the roots put out, I think it's a pheromone. I'm not sure, but it's a toxin. Other plants cannot grow around it. And so out there where the leaves fall and where the roots are in the ground, nothing is growing. And that's making me realize that most likely that is a black walnut. But it's not the worst thing in the world because that is on the side of the yard where the chicken coop is. If you remember how the backyard looks, it's like our house, chicken coop, patio, and then like the rest of the yard. My plan was to put beds in front of the patio and on this side of the patio, which is opposite from the black walnut tree. So I think it's all gonna work out. I think it's gonna be fine. But for this year, and I don't know if I have ever said this officially anywhere, but I basically officially, what the fuck? I don't know if I made this clear enough to anybody, but I'm skipping this growing season as far as garden growing goes, and I'm focusing on the front yard native wildlife habitat transformation. So I do have one garden bed that a friend gave me that I still need to like assemble, and I might set that one up just because it like fell into my lap and I'm kind of excited about it. But for the most part, like the front yard is a lot of work and I'm focusing my energy on that for this growing season. Throughout the winter, we'll build the beds, we'll fill them up, and then in the spring we'll plant. That's the update on the garden. Even though I can't like plant foods out there this year, or I'm not going to, we are definitely still gonna get a lot of pecans, which is exciting because I think we should try to make a pecan pie. Madison's down for it. I already asked her.
I am down for that. I was really excited. Shelby's like, when it's fall and we have pecans, we should have a Friendsgiving and we should invite everybody over to have pies that we make from the pecans that we get from the trees.
I love that. And also, like, I feel like so many people have been talking about foraging a lot online, and I've always thought that Texas is like not really a place where foraging is that popular because, well, I guess A, because I'm not familiar with it, but B, even as I have become more familiar with plants and what they are and those sort of things, I still haven't seen many things that are like just growing wild, but pecans do. And I realized this maybe like this year or last year, but I used to, when we lived in the garage apartment, I worked from home for like the last few months that we lived there, and I remember seeing this van full of people pull up around the cul-de-sac that we lived on, get out, and just start searching the ground around this person who lived across the street from us' house. And I remember like, what the fuck are they doing? Like, I was so freaked out. And then I told Madison about it, and then they came back a few days later, did the same thing. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? And I think now I realize, I think they were foraging for pecans. And that's definitely something you can do if you live in Texas, but also probably all over the US. Pecans are like native trees. So even though we're not gardening, we kind of are, because there's food growing in our backyard, which is really exciting.
Yeah, buddy. I knew this question was going to come up. What have you been up to? Will you be adding more chickens? Why not?
I like how they said, will you be adding more chickens? It didn't say why or why not. They're just like, why not?
Why not? Like, you need them, or yeah, you basically need them. Shelby is a huge advocate of at least adding 2 more chickens to the flock. So I don't know if you all remember or not, but the chickens that we have now, we're actually pretty good friends with this lady that lives in Seguin that runs her own sanctuary. Shout out Sarah Sanctuary. And every time we're there, for whatever reason, and whether it's like volunteering or bringing pumpkins that we have for the animals left over from Halloween, she's like, hey, do you want an animal? And one of those times we went to the sanctuary, Shelby ended up with Douglas and Val. I, on the other hand, you know, I'm like, we have 2 chickens, we have 1 cat, and I am completely content with just having those animals. You know, we got them inside and outside. I feel like all of our bases are covered, and I'm not really down for more chickens, to be honest. So that's the answer. Shelby's just waiting to get her replying. She's like, I want a, what did you tell me you want?
An Americana.
And
an Easter egger.
But she's got 2 Rhode Island Reds and whatever.
I'll take whatever's at the sanctuary, honestly. I don't care. But I would like to have 2 more chickens. I think 4 is a nice number.
I think 3 is a nice number.
3, one more chicken?
No, we have a cat inside.
So Madison doesn't like pets. If you've been watching this channel for a while, you'd know. I had Tippy before we got together. That's the only way he's here. And the girls were like weeks of like compromising and talking about it and like coercing, really.
Coercing, that's a good word.
So I don't push anymore. Mostly because the girls ended up like being pretty costly when we would travel. I don't think that's so much a concern now, considering that we are not traveling anymore. I don't know if I've told you guys this, but technically we don't have an HOA, right? We were very specific in not buying a home in an HOA because I think HOAs are stupid to begin with. Like, I think it's stupid to pay someone to tell you what to do with your own property. I just think that's insane. But 2, they're classist, elitist, racist. The foundation of HOAs are really just fucked up. So we don't have one, but we do have something like a deed, essentially. We have deed restrictions. And I didn't know that until we were under contract. And in that deed, the first thing it says is you're not allowed to have chickens.
Yeah.
So technically, our chickens are here illegally. I don't think we're friends with the people on the board. I don't think anybody would care. And there's another lady a few streets over who has them too. Mm-hmm. And she has roosters and they know. So like, I don't think there's anything that can really happen. But I think for that reason also, I've like kind of laid off on it. But I definitely want 2 more. And I don't really know what we're waiting for to get 2 more because someday I want more.
No, they poop a lot. Like, we cannot walk outside without stepping in a poop. Like, our whole back patio is like covered in poop. And then our younger chicken... It's not as bad as
the other house, though.
And then our younger chicken doesn't really respect boundaries. So we put up that baby gate. I don't know if y'all remember on...
Her name is Douglas, by the way. They know their names. Our younger chicken.
Well, we put up a baby gate so she wouldn't fly like on our deck. Lo and behold, she has figured out how to fly onto the gate and then onto the porch. And then when we go outside to get her, she's like running to get back to the gate to fly off of the porch. So I'm like, no, not doing it.
But for now, I'm not fighting her on it because they're fine. I worry that one of them will pass because when I got Val, Tracy told me, she was like, this one, don't expect her to live very long. It's been 2 years and she seems fine. Like, she seems great. So I don't know really why she said that, but I'm always like anxious that Val is going to die and then Dougie's going to be on our own. And like, then we would have to get more chickens. I guess I'm holding out for that. I guess I'll hold out for Val to die and then maybe I'll get 2 more. Anyway.
1 more, a replacement chicken.
It's best to have 3 so that the... It is because they're flock animals, and Douglas's like aggressiveness, if it were spread out amongst more than just 1 chicken, it wouldn't be so bad. And she's not that bad anymore. I think that was just like establishing the pecking order thing, but it was like kind of traumatizing to me. So anyway, yeah. I would love to have more, but I'm not pushing. I think this person's name is Natalie. I see them a lot, but they ask, how are the chicken poos doing and the garden? Well, we already kind of...
Chicken poos, there's a lot of it everywhere.
They said love y'all. We already kind of went over the garden, did a little update on the girls, but I think one of the things that I really like about this house, at least so far, is that the backyard is so shaded, which, by the way, the energy efficiency of this house, I don't know if I mentioned this, but when the solar people came over we got solar. I don't know if we told you guys that. So much to update you on, actually. I should have made a list. Got solar if you want to know more about that. I've made a video on my main channel, also talking about it a lot more on like TikTok and Instagram. We'll probably talk about it more throughout time on this channel too. But when they came over to do the consult and they looked at our like kWh consumption, they were like, you guys are using like very little energy. Like, you are like using like bottom percentile of the amount of energy for normal, which I found very strange. Mm-hmm. But I think it's because of those trees. So that is the west side of the house. So in the hottest part of the day, the whole house is just shaded. Mm-hmm. I think that's amazing. And I tell you all this to say, the whole backyard is shaded most of the day. So in the old house, it was only shaded in the very late evening. So the girls would basically, after the morning hours, they would just be held up under the fig tree because it's the only place that they could survive. And since the whole yard is shaded, they're moving around all day long, doing their thing, pecking, scratching, whatever they're doing out there. Yeah. So I think they really like this yard, and obviously it's a lot bigger for them. Our neighbor on this side, we just got new neighbors. also an update. Do you want to tell them about the neighbors?
The neighbors are a part of the community. The neighbors are a part of the LGBT. They're also interracial, which is pretty cool. So we're like the lesbians and they're like the gay boys next door. And they have a pool and have invited us to their pool party and they're super rad. We're like in love with them.
Guys, and then like a couple other neighbors like 3 houses down, also millennials who stopped to talk to us because of our front yard, who want to have like communal dinners, which we're gonna try to plan the first one in a couple weeks. And like, I just feel like everything is falling into place. But I tell you about by the way, our neighbors next door who moved in right after us, like they renovated that. I started renovating that house after we moved in, and then we saw it go up for sale and we were like, please let someone cool move in next door.
Yes.
And I remember before the moving trucks even came, they planted their pride flag, and I was like, oh, I knew. I had seen 2 men getting in and out of cars when they were doing like their inspections and stuff. I was like, babe, I think 2 men are buying that fucking house. And then when I saw the pride flag, I was like, oh my God. So yeah, that's really exciting. But all that to say, they have a dog, a big ass dog.
Yeah.
And he's really quiet. And I was worried that the girls would be like kind of scared of him, but he doesn't. I don't even know if they know he lives there. Like they might not even know a dog lives next door. So that's been really good.
Yeah, they look healthier than they did at the last place just because they are moving around more.
Yeah.
Their butts aren't all crusty like they were in San Antonio. I don't know what that was about, but I don't know. Maybe there's too much watermelon during the summertime.
I think it was the watermelon and also just drinking more water to fucking survive. Like
because of the heat, yeah.
This person knows that we got solar. I wish I knew this person's name because I see your stuff on Instagram all the time. We talk all the time, but your username doesn't have your name in it. So then I'm like, what is your name? But anyway, it says, now that solar is checked off the list, what's the next eco home improvement to the house? We really got to hold on the next project, to be honest, because what?
What are you going to say?
I was just going to say, like, saving for the solar, like, that was a big expense.
Yes.
So just like, gotta slow down a little bit before we do the next thing, because all the other things that we want to do are quite expensive,
right?
And so just kind of gotta prioritize that. But what do you think is the next thing?
I have 2 big things on my list. One of them, if I were to order, honestly, this one is maybe a little higher up on my list because on top of energy efficiency, it's also really freaking annoying. But we have some of the windows in this house are replaced. Some of these windows are original to the home, which means they are over 50 plus years old, struggling to do their duty. Single pane, horrible for energy efficiency. And on top of that, we've been noticing that when it rains really heavy and it's windy and it kind of turns the rain from vertical to horizontal, it has been raining through the cracks in our windows because the seals between the windows and the framing of our house are bad. So we've had multiple occasions where water has come rushing in through our windows.
Just this window in the kitchen. And I think I always wanted to do those sort of things before we did energy efficiency, because Madison's always preaching to me that energy efficiency is about more than renewables and more than solar, and you should do all the things. But because they did replace like several of the windows, I thought we were good. Like, I guess I didn't realize they had only replaced some and not others. And then when it started raining, I was like, oh, this window is not updated. So we had someone come in, give us a quote for the windows. That was terrifying. Yeah. And so, gotta wait a minute. Even though I think we discussed that we're gonna get that one taken care of because that's like a hazard. I think we do need to insulate our bedroom. Our attic is very, very tiny.
Yeah.
But it needs to be re-insulated, and we knew that. Right? Is that what you're gonna say?
Yeah, the attic was the second thing, but windows and then insulation.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing I want to do is I found out that you can get up to, I think did I say $5,000? You can,
I don't remember.
The rebates in Austin are actually incredible. I'm actually really upset that I didn't know that there was one for converting your yard before I started, because the rules you have to follow are very specific, and I basically can't get the rebate now, I don't think, because you have to document your yard before you start. And then there are certain rules to follow, and I think I already did too much to get the rebate. But if you live in Austin, there's a rebate where if you transform your yard from a grass lawn to a drought-tolerant lawn, you get $100 per square foot, which is incredible.
Yeah.
And then there's and obviously I'm working on that. But the other update we want to do to the house now that solar is done is gutters and rainwater catchment. And you can get $5,000 back from the city for doing that, which is incredible. It's on my to-do list, but again, all these things cost money, so.
Yeah.
There are also, I just want to say, since we were talking about how expensive windows are, there are rebates currently right now from the federal government, from the Inflation Reduction Act. I think it's like up to $1,200 a year for things like window upgrades. So always consider all of those things when you're doing that, but even still. And also a lot of these things offer finance. The thing that Madison and I tried to do, like, as much as possible is save prior to getting these things, because I feel like if you just keep taking out these low interest like finance options, you can get yourself into a place that is a little bit scary for me. I'm a little bit afraid of debt. Necessarily the best financial option always, but that's what we try to do. We try to save up before we do them. So
right.
That's why we just take a pause.
Yep.
Okay, we just took an actual pause so that we could think through this question and answer it very honestly with you. Like, we were scrolling through our favorite liked photos on our phones to really answer this question with the utmost honesty. So Madison, take it away.
Yeah, so the question is, what's the happiest moment you've each had during this time? My moment goes back to Earth Day. Eco Talk, shout out Eco Talk, was actually
Earth Day. It was during South by.
Okay. So it was actually during South by, but they put together this event at this bar downtown and had these local musicians come in to play some music at the bar. And guys, these musicians were so dope. Like, I fell in love. They're like, one of the guys is on the bass, one of the guys is on guitar. They're twin brothers. They're black. They play R&B music, and they dance and kind of put on a performance while they play. And I was just like, that's incredible. And then we met so many different people at the event. So it's like, I got good music. I'm building community. That for me has probably been the happiest moment I've had since
we stopped vlogging. That's basically the question. Madison is struggling over here. She was like, can you pick my happiest moment? I don't think about stuff like this very often. I'm like, you just gotta think about it right now, not often.
I'm struggling.
That day is actually where we met Tanzia, who is an amazing human and has quickly become a really good friend of mine. That was a cool night. And I met Alyssa, if you guys know New Lifestyle, on she's on Instagram, but on TikTok, or Sustainable Sabrina from TikTok. Who else did we meet? Crystal, she's from San Antonio. I don't remember her username.
We met Amaya.
Oh yeah, Amaya. Well, Isaiah was there.
Everybody was there.
We met so many people, yeah, in the environmentalist space. So that was a really cool day. But mine, as I was scrolling through my favorites on my phone, I saw this picture and I was like, oh, that has to be it. Just has to be it. So I've been getting very into native plants, as we've talked about a gajillion times on here, and this was correlated to Earth Day. So there's a train in Texas. It's like an old retired train. The train ride wasn't all that. It's a little silly, honestly, because they advertised it as a train ride to see the wildflowers. Mm-hmm. And they were gonna have master naturalists on there to talk to us about the wildflowers and the geology, and that's what they presented it as. So I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. It's gonna be so cool. And the area around the railroad track was so developed that there weren't that many wildflowers. And then on top of that, the master naturalist only came around for the last 15 minutes of the whole train ride. So it was a little bit of a letdown. Not the point. We left from there and we stopped at this bank. This bank had this lot next to it that had clearly been planted purposefully with wildflowers. Well, I don't know. It looked like very undisturbed habitat. If it was natural like that, that's impressive that they maintained it that well. I think it's probably been restored. But anyway, so I see a bunch of flowers. I'm like, skirt, I'm pulling over because the whole point of the day was to see wildflowers and we hadn't really seen them. So it's all these yellows, blues, reds. The native wildflowers here in Texas are beautiful. But the one flower I had never seen growing in the wild, outside of a nursery or a botanical garden, was native milkweed here in Texas. And that, I'm not crying, it's just sinuses all of a sudden.
Oh, okay.
But when I saw the milkweed, not only did I see the milkweed in person for the first time, there was a literal monarch butterfly caterpillar on the milkweed. So that was just a lot for me, and I literally did start crying. I was there for this. That was probably the happiest moment I've had in a long time, but definitely since we've been vlogging. And
since we haven't been vlogging. And I also just when I read this question, I thought about the time that, I don't know why we were doing this, but we were sitting around the table with like my whole family, and we were doing the thing where it's like, ask a question, everybody goes around and answers it. And someone asked this question, and it was like, what was the happiest moment of your life? Do you remember this? You were there. What did I say?
I don't remember.
Hopefully I said getting married.
This was before we got married. This was a long time ago.
Okay, now I know what I said.
Yeah, and I remember everybody else at the table going around talking about when they graduated, when they had kids, when they got married, blah, 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 all that stuff. And it gets to me, and I said, the day I saw General Sherman, the sequoia tree, and everyone at the table was like, are you fucking serious? Like, they were so upset with me, like judging me. One of my cousins was like hardcore judging me. Dang. She was like, not when you, it must have been after graduation though, because I remember she asked me not the day you graduated. Anyway, so, yeah, I just like have a pretty severe tie to nature, and most of the happiest moments in my life revolve around that. So I just thought that was a fun story to tell. But That's it for this video. We really didn't talk about that much, but we talked a lot. This is gonna be a long video.
Yeah, I mean, you all missed us, so we had to give you all an adequate update and let you all know like everything that's been going on in the past, I don't even know, what, 6 months, 7 months?
When did we stop? I guess in January, yeah, and it's June. So like 6 months. So, I guess we should also say if we're gonna start making vlogs again.
Yes, no, what are we doing?
I want to start vlogging. My strategy and hope, this is what we're gonna try. We'll see if it works out, if it doesn't, I don't know. But the goal is, vlogging is like, there are challenges that come along with vlogging, like we explained, like feeling like you have to curate something and you can't just have a very like restful weekend, that you need to be doing something so that you can vlog it. I'm gonna do my best not to do that and just vlog what we do. This weekend will be a great weekend for that, because my sister's coming into town, my cousin's coming into town, we're gonna be doing shit all weekend. So it won't be for like lack of activity that the vlog doesn't happen. But one of the things that I realized is that Madison, again, very slow editor, so it would take her like multiple days away from her evenings to edit these videos. So my goal from here on out is actually to get my editor Tara to edit the videos. Even though this channel really doesn't even make enough money for me to pay Tara to edit the videos, but I do miss them a lot and I get asked about them a lot, and I want to do them. And so we'll see how that goes. It's like a trial run. We'll see. That's the plan for now. I think I'm also like taking some expectations away from the vlog channel, of it ever growing, of it ever becoming something more than our hobby. And we'll see how sustainable it is to have someone help us edit these videos so that we can get them up and still maintain the life we want to live. So we'll see. And I think that's it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think we're good.
Okay. Cool. Well, we'll catch you later, Madalise.
You didn't even tell me. You just like, whoa.